The internet explodes. Fearful face Jamie Dornan reveals the truth. His relationship with Dakota was just a rumor. Within minutes, it was everywhere. On Twitter, now X, TikTok edits, Instagram fan pages, YouTube reaction channels. Old fan accounts that had been dormant for years suddenly woke up, posting screenshots from 50 Shades, red carpet gifs, and shaky theories like it was 2015 all over again. But this time, the story wasn't about what if. It was about what really never was. The interview that broke the internet. It started on a grey Tuesday morning in London. Jamie Dornan sat in a quiet studio, a mug of untouched coffee in front of him, the air buzzing with a strange mix of professionalism and something more personal. The interview was supposed to be about his new project, a serious drama, awards season type, far away from elevators and playrooms and grey ties. But everyone knew what the internet really wanted to hear. The interviewer, Emma Lane, had a reputation: gentle tone, sharp questions. She watched him for a moment, then smiled. "Jamie," she said, "we've talked about your film, your family, your journey as an actor. There's one topic I'd like to touch on, and feel free to shut it down if you want." Jamie chuckled, already sensing it. "Go on," he replied, fingers laced together. Emma tilted her head. For nearly a decade, the internet has been obsessed with one thing: your so-called secret relationship with Dakota Johnson. The producer behind the camera shifted. A sound engineer looked up. In the control room, someone marked the moment with a bold red tag. "Clip this." Emma continued, "Some people were genuinely convinced that you and Dakota were, or still are, something more than co-stars. That you were hiding a great love story. You've never really addressed it directly. Until now, maybe?" Jamie inhaled slowly. He thought about it. The edits set to romantic music, the fanfiction, the conspiracies about glances, fingers brushing on carpets, interviews overanalyzed frame by frame. He'd tried to laugh it off for years. But as time passed, it stopped being just a harmless fantasy. It became something heavier, something that bled into his real life, Dakota's real life, their partners, their families. And today, he'd promised himself, and his PR team, that he would finally say it. Clearly, kindly, completely. He looked into the camera. "The truth?" he began, voice steady. "My relationship with Dakota." He paused. "Was just a rumor. A very big, very loud, very persistent rumor. Cutting through the fantasy." The internet would later replay that sentence a million times. The way he said, "just a rumor," not dismissively, not bitterly, but with the tired affection of someone who'd carried a story he never wrote. Emma leaned forward. "What do you mean by that, exactly?" Jamie smiled, a mix of nostalgia and sadness in his eyes. "Dakota and I," he said slowly, "had, and still have, a very special connection. You don't go through something like those films without forming a bond. We trusted each other, we leaned on each other. We shot incredibly vulnerable scenes, month after month. There was no way to survive that without becoming close." He chose his words with care. "But close," he continued, "didn't mean secret lovers. It meant we were a team. It meant, on set, she was the person who understood exactly how weird it all was. We laughed a lot. We rolled our eyes at the same things. We tried to make each other feel safe. That's it. No hidden ring. No secret apartment. No child in the shadows. Just two actors doing something very intense, and trying not to lose our minds." In a TikTok that would later go viral, someone slowed down his "just two actors" line, added sparkles and sad music, and wrote, "This broke me more than any confession heartbreak." Emma pressed gently, "So when people said, they must be together?" Jamie shook his head, a small, knowing smile on his lips. "They were seeing what they wanted to see," he said. "They took chemistry, the kind you need for a romance on screen, and turned it into a whole off-screen saga. I get it, you know? It's romantic. It's exciting to imagine that the story continues after the credits roll. But at some point, it stopped being cute and started being unfair. Unfair to whom? Emma asked. Unfair to my wife. Unfair to Dakota. Unfair to anyone who entered our lives and felt they were competing with a ghost relationship that never existed. The cost of a beautiful rumor. Clips from the interview started circulating before it officially aired. A staff member leaked a short, grainy recording of Jamie saying the words, "just a rumor," and the fanbase erupted. Some refused to believe him. Some felt vindicated. Some felt oddly heartbroken. But inside the studio, Jamie wasn't thinking about trend charts. He was thinking about late nights and quiet arguments. There were times, he admitted, when I'd be at home, with my family, and a new headline would pop up again. Jamie and Dakota's secret signals, or Dakota's hidden message in this interview, or some nonsense like that. And I'd see what people were saying in the comments, and I'd think, are my real life and my real feelings not enough for some people unless they involve this fantasy? Emma listened, surprisingly still. My wife, he continued softly, is a very strong, empathetic person. She understood from the start that the internet was going to talk. That people would ship. That's part of fandom culture, and honestly, I don't hate it. I know it comes from a place of love for the work. But sometimes when the rumor lives longer than the film, it becomes a third person in your marriage. He looked down at his hands for a moment. There were days, he admitted, when I felt like I was fighting a ghost. A version of myself that never existed. A version of my life that strangers preferred. Emma nodded. Did you ever talk to Dakota about it? He let out a small laugh. Oh, of course. So many times. We'd send each other the wildest articles like, apparently we got married in secret, did you know? Or, look, we had our 5th child yesterday. We tried to laugh. But behind the jokes, we both knew there was a line. A line? Emma repeated. A line, he said, between fantasy and reality. And slowly, we had to step further and further back from each other publicly. Not because we hated each other, far from it, but because anything we did together became proof, in some people's eyes, that the rumors were real. So we disappeared from each other's narratives, to protect our real lives. Dakota watches. Across the ocean, in a sunny kitchen in Los Angeles, Dakota Johnson watched the interview on her tablet. She'd known it was coming. Jamie had texted her a few days before. Jamie, I'm going to talk about us in an interview. The rumor thing, properly this time. Hope you're okay with that. Want you to hear it from me before you see the headlines. Dakota. Finally? Do it. Say the truth. All of it. I'm so tired too, Jay. Now she leaned against the counter, hair tied up, oversized shirt hanging loosely on her, a mug of coffee cooling in her hands as she watched the man who'd been the center of so many stories that were never really theirs. When he said, my relationship with Dakota was just a rumor, something in her chest tightened, not in offense, but in recognition. Because it was the right word, rumor. Huge, global, all-consuming, but still, just a rumor. Her phone buzzed. A friend sent her a screenshot of Twitter. Trending. #JustARumor. Jamie Dornan breaks the Dakota myth. Beneath it, fans were spiraling. My whole personality from 2015 to 2018 was them being secretly in love. I don't know who I am anymore. Am I insane or did I really see something between them? They're just trying to protect their partners. I don't buy this. Maybe the truth is that the rumor became too much. Dakota sighed. She remembered all the times directors had told her, people can't stop talking about your chemistry with Jamie. We should use that. She remembered the interviews where every journalist, no matter how serious, eventually tilted their head and asked, so, between us, was there ever something real? If she said no, they didn't believe her. If she joked, it became proof. If she changed the subject, it became suspicious. There was no winning. She paused the video when Jamie's eyes turned especially soft. Dakota is one of the most important people I've worked with, he said. And I hate that sometimes our connection has been twisted into something that hurts the people we love, instead of honoring what we actually had: trust, respect, friendship. Dakota swallowed hard. Idiot, she muttered quietly, but she was smiling. You're going to make me cry on a Tuesday. Fandom in freefall. By afternoon, the internet was split into camps. Camp 1. We respect them and accept the truth. The movies were acting, the bond was friendship. Camp 2. He's lying to protect his marriage. You can't fake years of that chemistry. Camp 3. Can we please let these people live? There were long threads about parasocial relationships, about how fans attach themselves to fictional couples and drag actors into the fantasy. Creators who had built entire channels on Jamie Dakota analysis scrambled to respond. One YouTuber posted a tearful video titled, "I spent 8 years shipping a rumor," a response to Jamie Dornan. She admitted, voice shaking, when he said, "Just a rumor, it felt like losing something. But then I realized, I didn't actually lose anything. Because what I loved was the story. The movies. The looks between Christian and Anna. That doesn't disappear just because the real actors were never secretly in love." On TikTok, someone stitched Jamie's interview with Dakota's old clips, where she'd said things like, "We're very close friends. We trust each other completely. He's like family to me," and captioned it, "They told us the truth the whole time. We just didn't want that version of the story." Another commentator summed it up in a single line that got millions of likes. "Jamie didn't kill the romance. He just reminded us where it actually belonged, on screen." Behind the camera. After the interview wrapped, Jamie stayed in his chair, mic still clipped to his shirt. The crew moved quietly, switching off lights, unplugging cables, but Emma lingered. "You okay?" she asked softly. He let out a breath that felt like it had been stuck in his chest for years. "Yeah," he said, "I think so. It's strange. It's like, I finally said something I should have said a long time ago." Emma nodded. "You've always joked about it before. Today, you didn't." He met her eyes. "Because it stopped being funny when I realized how much people were building entire realities out of it. How it made Dakota uncomfortable, even if she rarely showed it. How it made my wife feel like she was constantly being compared to a fantasy." He looked down at the space where the camera had been. "You know," he added, "I don't hate the fans. I never have. Some of them truly love the work we did. But I think there's a difference between loving the story and refusing to accept that it ended when the director said, 'Cut.'" Emma smiled gently. "Maybe this will help redraw that line." Or, he smirked, "maybe it'll just create a new rumor. Jamie denies secret love to hide secret love." She laughed. "You know that's already a tweet, right?" He shook his head, half amused, half resigned. "Of course it is." A message sent, a message received. Later that night, after putting his kids to bed and turning off the downstairs lights, Jamie walked out into the backyard. The air was cool, the sky cloudy. Somewhere inside, his phone buzzed with new notifications every second, but for a little while, he ignored them all. Finally, he pulled it out of his pocket. There it was. Hundreds of mentions, articles, trending tags. But he scrolled past all of it and opened a single conversation, one that had been at the top of his chat list for almost a decade. "Jamie. So, I said it." The typing bubble appeared. "Dakota. I saw. You did good, Mr. Dornan." He smiled. "Jamie. They're going to dissect every word." Dakota. "Let them. At least they're finally dissecting the truth." A pause. Then another message appeared. "Dakota. Do you remember that day on set? When we finished filming the last scene of the last movie?" Immediately, the memory came back. the final wrap, the champagne, the hugs, the strange emptiness afterward. Jamie. Yeah, you cried. I pretended I wasn't going to. Dakota. Liar. You were worse than me. A laughing emoji. Then. Dakota. I cried because I knew everyone would keep seeing us as those two people. Not us. Them. He exhaled slowly, reading. Jamie. I know. Maybe today was our very delayed end credits. Dakota. The longest ending ever. A beat. Dakota. For what it's worth, I'm glad the world believed in that kind of love. Even if they put it on the wrong people. That line hit him deeper than he'd expected. Jamie. Me too. They saw something beautiful. It was never us, but it was real in its own way, for them. Dakota. And for us when we were working. We gave them something to feel. That's our job. We did it. He stared at the words, feeling a quiet warmth. Jamie. Thank you. For always having my back. Even now. Dakota. Always. Even if the internet doesn't know that this is the real story. The aftermath. Over the next few days, think pieces poured in. Some accused Jamie of gaslighting the fandom. Others praised him for drawing a boundary. Media analysts discussed how shipping culture can blur lines between performance and reality. Therapists posted threads about parasocial attachments and why people cling to imaginary relationships. But amid all the noise, something subtle started happening. Fan pages gradually shifted from Jamie Dakota, secret love, to behind the scenes, the trust that made the films work. Edits became less about proof and more about gratitude. Thank you for giving us characters we could fall in love with, even if you never did in real life. One longtime fan tweeted. I spent years hoping the rumor was true. Today I realized I don't actually need it to be. The story mattered to me. They don't owe me their real hearts. Another wrote. It's weirdly comforting to know they were just friends, but really good ones. It makes all those scenes feel even more impressive. And slowly, inevitably, the shock faded into acceptance. A quiet victory. Weeks later, Jamie found himself in another interview, much smaller this time. A podcast, casual atmosphere, no heavy lights or perfectly angled cameras. The host, a young woman with a nervous laugh, asked hesitantly. I know you've talked about this a lot recently, and I don't want to drag it out, but I just wanted to say, as someone who used to ship you and Dakota, hearing you call it a rumor, and explain the impact, really opened my eyes. Jamie smiled, genuinely moved. Thank you, he said. Honestly, that means a lot. I was worried it would just make people angry. Oh, it did, she admitted with a grin. For like 3 days. Then a lot of us had a reality check. He laughed. She added, I think we forget that the people we ship are actual human beings. With kids, partners, lives that exist when we close the browser. Hearing you say, it was just a rumor, didn't destroy the magic. It just reminded me where the magic belonged. Jamie leaned back, feeling a rare kind of peace. If that's what people take from it, he said, then the internet exploding was worth it. The truth, finally. Somewhere, years from now, the old rumor will probably still appear in comment sections. Someone will discover 50 Shades for the first time and ask, wait, did they ever date in real life? And 1,000 voices will respond, no. That was just a rumor. They were friends. They were actors. They made it look real. And that answer, simple as it is, will carry with it everything Jamie finally said, and everything Dakota quietly understood. That a story can change people's lives without consuming the lives of the people who told it. That chemistry on screen doesn't require romance off screen. That a rumor, no matter how beautiful, doesn't become a truth just because millions of people want it. On that grey Tuesday morning in London, Jamie Dornan didn't just kill a fantasy. He freed himself from it. He freed Dakota from it. He opened a small door back to reality, for himself and for the millions of people who had forgotten where the line was. And as the internet exploded, argued, cried, joked, and then, finally, calmed down, one quiet fact remained. His relationship with Dakota Johnson, the one the world had written and rewritten 1,000 times, had never been a secret love story. It had always been exactly what he said it was. Just a rumor. And a remarkable friendship behind one of the most talked about fictional romances of their generation.